Thank you for coming. My name is Pari Stave. I'm a curator here at Listasafn Íslands, and I have the great pleasure to be in conversation this afternoon with the artist Agnieszka Polska. She's sitting to my left, and this just shortly after our conversation, we are going to debut her two films here. On the left-hand side, as you enter, we will show Longing Gaze from 2022, and then...
Or 2020, actually.
Yeah. 2020.
Yeah, because it is from the pandemic.
From the pandemic. And then on this this side, we'll show the Book of Flowers, which is from 2022.
Or free.
Well, I'll have to read my own handout brochure. But anyway, so we will have a conversation about these two films that you will then be able to see as soon as the conversation is over. And I thought we would talk for about a half an hour, give you some background, and then if you'd like to, even though you haven't seen the film, there might be things that surface in the course of our conversation that you would like to ask Agnieszka. So Agnieszka comes from Lublin, Poland, but she lives and works in Berlin. And early on in her entering the career of being an artist, she was fascinated by animation. As a child, she was interested in particular in anime. So she went to school to study filmmaking. And what was interesting in the course of getting to know her and to talking about these two works is that she sees them as film, regardless of what the medium is that she might be using to actually make them. But they're filmic in the sense that they very much have a narrative trajectory. There's a start and a finish, and there's a story being told. And this idea of storytelling, which she is, interested in because it is a kind of ancient form of art making in a sense. This oral histories, but storytelling being, pre-writing, and that's existed in culture for millennia. So that she's tapping into the idea that there are stories she wants to tell in each of these films. And the reason that we selected these two is because they each have a kind of narration that is also in a way very poetic in the way that it's delivering the story to you. And so what I think I'd like to do is to have her tell us a little bit about how she came to filmmaking and then this idea of storytelling, and then we might dive into more specific discussions about each of the works. So.
Thank you. Hello, and thanks a lot for coming today. So how I came to filmmaking. As you said, I was always interested in animation, so I applied for the course when I was about to choose my studies. I applied for a course that provided access to animation studio, and I started from learning very traditional animating techniques. And one of the techniques that was taught at the studio in Kraków was the so-called glass table animation. It is when you move independently different elements on several layers of glass. And then this creates an illusion of depth. So the elements that are moving slower are usually in the back, and they serve as a background. And I'm talking about this because actually I later started to use digital animation and even some kinetic sculptures that actually are based on the same method of work. So when you think about animation, you have to understand that it is always an illusion that is created in your eye or in your brain, and this illusion comes from just different speeds of movement. So as I said, I moved to digital animation. Then I got interested in working with actors. I got interested in more cinematic ways of storytelling, and I debuted with a cinematic feature. I also debuted with a theater play, and at the same time I was working with video installations distributed in space, because in my work the body of the viewer is also constituting a very important element of the work. So I always think about how my films, my works are perceived by the mind and by the body of the viewer. So I'm thinking a lot about the physicality of the work. And I think that this allows me to sometimes introduce this space of kind of extreme focus, or I try to somehow hypnotize the viewer, not only with the story, but also with the kind of very physical triggers that the film contains within the sound, certain visual elements. The movement of the body in the space is also very important. So I would say that my works are very much based in affect, and affect understood as a actually bodily sensation. Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, there's a strong tradition of filmmaking and animation in Poland. Is that correct?
Yeah. It was especially in the 60s and 70s. Mm-hmm. There was a very strong school of animation. Mm-hmm. Now to a lesser extent, but there are still many very good animators in Poland, and the industry is very big.
And now you are sometimes working with artificial intelligence in the way that you manipulate images. And one of the things that both of these films have in common is that in them Agnieszka is using found footage. So in the case of The Longing Gaze, she's using footage from surveillance cameras. And she can tell you a little bit more about how she, selected the particular, images from around the world to comprise that work. And then in the Book of Flowers, she has taken found film footage of it's time-lapse photographs of time-lapse films of flowers blooming, and then manipulated those too. So maybe you can say a little bit about how you incorporate AI in your practice.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a very new thing. It's the last 2 years that I work with AI, and it is definitely not the main focus of my work, but because my work is very much informed by technology, and just as like any filmmaker's work, in fact, because filmmaking is always working with technology. There is always this machine between you and your creation, no matter what technique of filmmaking you are interested in. So I kind of naturally became interested in artificial intelligence powered models, and in this case, in the case of the Book of Flowers, I was working with a stable diffusion model, And yeah, I will tell you a little bit about the process of creating this video. So the process started with writing the story, but the process of creating the visual images, visual imagery that actually serves a little bit as an illustration to the story itself, started with this old footage of time-lapse videos of blossoming flowers. The footage comes from the 40s and 50s from the US. It was like one of the first experiments in time-lapse animation, time-lapse video making. And this this material was used by myself as a kind of a template for the model to learn how flowers are moving, how they are blossoming. And then in a very long process that incorporated like some textual prompts and some other actions from me, the model replaced all the footage with a generated footage. So instead of this old 16mm images of flowers, we can see this very fantastic looking flowers that are, and I think that to me it is interesting because there is this notion of found footage in this film, but at the same time there is not a single frame that was used from the original material. So there is this also like a question of that I'm sure that will be coming back in the next years and decades about the even the authorship, you know, like how do we think about technology that can, for example, use just like one particular aspect of the film, such as movement, but then transform everything else.
So are you starting sort of with the reality that you have in the found footage and then manipulating color, speed of the morphological changes, the shapes of the flowers themselves? What are the kinds of, where does reality end and where does surreality or hyperreality or this new reality you're creating begin? And is that a metaphor for, say, you know, the way we bioengineer nature? Two big questions.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very difficult for me to explain how this process really works. But if you imagine that you have a template of movement, and then you just replace the object, but the movement stays the same. Like this is basically the process.
Oh, okay.
But and in terms of like how it relates to just like these rapid technological changes that we experience. I think that there is maybe I will just like jump into what the story is about, because so the story that I show in this film, it's actually a very short film. It's only 10 minutes long. It is like a very condensed alternative history of our relationship with plants, so the relationship of humanity and plants. And I start this story by presenting this fictional tale of humans being the main pollinators of the enormous flowers in the past, and at the same time flowers participating in humans' reproductive process, and vice versa. and this is the beginning of this story, which takes the viewer through many centuries and ends or millennia and ends today with the reality that we know. So it's basically like an alternative history of this symbiotic relationship. And during this process, I present like different technological achievements and advancements of advances of humans that allowed them to basically become the masters of the flowers. The film is very much focused on the act of storytelling itself, and as you mentioned, storytelling here is understood as a technology as well, a technology of preserving information, of storing information, and I believe that this is the true nature of storytelling. That especially when we think about oral history and oral storytelling, with examples of stories that are thousands of years old and that can be traced back to some geological events that happened, for example, 7,000 years ago. When we think about how potent and lasting this medium is, it is uncomparable with any other technological achievement of humanity. It's when it comes to storing knowledge, because there is no other medium that can survive for so long. There is no chance of any of our contemporary devices lasting for 7,000 years and preserving our knowledge. So I think about storytelling as a technology, but I also think about it as a technology that can, especially in the era of artificial intelligence, can turn against us and basically captivated, like, and so that we could become like mute flowers, just captivated by this technology. This is I just basically went through the whole film now.
When we were beginning to work together, we wanted to give this exhibition one title to cover both films, and we settled on the title "Innocent Bodies," and that's because in both films, you know, there's an implication that there's a vulnerability in the society that we're living in right now, and in the case of the Book of Flowers, it relates to the vulnerability of the natural environment and what is happening, you know, by extension in planetary crisis, but just the vulnerability of the natural world. So moving to the other film, Longing Gaze, there's a different kind of vulnerability in contemporary life that is being addressed. Now, as Agnieszka said, she made that film during the pandemic, during lockdown, you know, when we were all, you know, isolated and living these very kind of solitary, asocial lives. Maybe our only contact was online, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't this proliferation of cameras out in the world capturing what was going on in the streets, even though the activity in the streets was diminished. So it's a series of these found videos from surveillance cameras, and it would be so interesting to hear from you, you know, how you made the selection, because it feels like you're a little bit going on it's as if you're sitting in front of a console looking at surveillance cameras from all over the world, and you're selecting certain images that together form something. Maybe you could say a little bit more say something about that and about the narration.
Yeah, so I think that this second work, The Longing Gaze, is maybe a bit more poetic in style than the Book of Flowers. It is also a poetic text that is accompanied by this assemblage of images, and in this case, as you said, the images are coming from CCTV cameras that are just available online. So I don't have to dig very far or very deep in order to find the imagery for this video. This film was created during the pandemic, and it was at the time when I was experiencing this, like lots of us, most of us experienced at the same time, just being locked in one space and having a very limited access to outside. At the same time, feeling kind of being constantly observed or examined in some ways, and observing this world through the online channels, so being only digitally connected to the world. And so at some point I thought that I would like to make a film about this very weird situation of the private space somehow blending with the public space, the public space demanding the private space to, or like the public space somehow invading the private space, and I focus on choosing this views from the cameras that were also very peculiar at that time, because many of them present usually very busy environments, the centers of the cities around the world that were completely empty at that time. It's difficult for me to say what was exactly the process. I think I was just like choosing places that would add this to this surreal atmosphere, to this surreal feeling that each of us had at that time.
So there are moments in some of these videos where there's a sort of a lot of pixelation, and sometimes the image becomes distorted, and then it fades into another image, almost like rain on a window, or a dashboard, window of a car or something. There's this rush of blur, like blurring between the lines, moving you to the next image. Is there something intentional about that blurring, the pixelation, the fragmenting and breaking up of the images?
Yeah. This is this was done in post-production. I was looking for a method to kind of blend all of these videos together, because they had a very different quality, so it didn't look good. And I was thinking of I decided to use this, actually a very, very old technique that comes from the 80s called data moshing. So it is nothing to do with AI or anything. It's actually just like something that is a glitch usually, but you can create this glitch intentionally. And I was thinking that these videos are usually like very low quality. Then you have these glitches. I wanted to show how there is this illusion of this technology being something obsolete and actually not very modern, but at the same time it is something that rules over our lives. So I thought that, yeah, this was the idea.
The video starts with a narration of a woman. I almost picture that she's lying next to her lover and describing the landscape of his body. Maybe it's her. I don't know. But then she just goes into a description of the nose, and then later on there are these questions and answers, and some of the answers are coming from demon. Maybe you can say something about the narration, the story behind it, and then this notion of questions and answers towards the end of the video.
Yeah, well, this monologue is like it incorporates some like kind of very private thoughts on my partner, who has a very big nose and is well known for having a big nose. So this was
a little autobiographical.
It was it is autobiographical. And it's a bit of a joke, you know, that of course like no one knows about like when they see this work. And I think that's like many of, I guess like all of my works are actually like in some ways autobiographical, even though they don't show it in any way. Also the Book of Flowers in some ways. And I think that's, I have to start the work with some like kind of a very rare feeling that I experience, you know, so it automatically comes from from me, from my life, and I don't really believe that's a kind of that I could achieve the same effect with sort of research-based works, you know, that are coming only from what I'm interested in. I think that's when I join these two territories, it gives brings the best effects. You asked about the demon, so there is a. I was thinking about the demon as in this case, in the case of this video, as a this being that observes us, and you know there is this like Greek notion of a demon or daemon. That is basically like this entity that is not visible, cannot be seen by the humans, but it is affecting humans' lives. And this also gave the name to to what we know from IT, the daemon as a type of a software or a program that is running independently from the user. So there is like no kind of an interface to access the daemon, but it's actually somehow controls the working of the computer, and it also affects the user of the computer. So so I was thinking about this daemon as a kind of a symbol of something that affects us in ways that we don't understand, and is definitely related to technology.
And this gets to your particular interest in the affect economy, this sociological science notion that there are ways that technology is affecting us emotionally and physiologically in our lives that we are not necessarily aware of or being asked to be aware of, but this is a theme that is running through many of your works, and these two in particular. Could you say a little bit more about that and your interest in it?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, this interest starts with the theory of Sarah Ahmed, who created this notion of economy of emotions or affective economy. She, in her understanding, emotions circulate through the society in the same way as the capital circulates through the society. So they actually undergo the same processes as capital. It is possible to store the emotions, it is possible to multiply them, it is possible to take profit from emotions such as love, hate, and so on. And this idea is very important to me because for different reasons. The first reason is that I see the work of art as a unit of stored emotions. So I see us as artists and cultural workers as people who deal with this very potent way of affecting the society. And when you think about also how the society works, the society works as a system that is based in sorry, I'm just like I forgot the words. In recursivity, so basically a recursive system is a system that somehow stabilizes itself whenever there is some contingency from the environment. So the opposite of the recursive system is a mechanical system, which can only break because it cannot change itself. But any organic body, like a human body or animal body, or also like some complex systems like societies, they have this amazing thing of being able to change and being able to adjust to any new challenges, and so I believe that this affective economy, this affective exchange in which we as artists and workers of culture participate is basically one of the biggest regulators of this system. And this is in our very sad and scary times. This is one of the little hopes that actually art making is giving me. That actually maybe there is something that maybe there is an actual science behind how art can affect our societies.
Thank you, Agnieszka, so
Thank
much. We have started this video series in Gallery 1 last May before that with Steina's Borealis, and then the clock, and on, and we're planning several more. But part of the reason is that we are able to bring in a kind of environmentally sustainable way major works by international artists and also Icelandic artists, so that we can have these dialogues and intimate conversations with artists around their works and maybe further exchange of ideas. So thank you very much for coming, and thank you again, Agnieszka.
Thanks so much for having me
Iceland.
here.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.